makes available at least one current copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to all members of the public. Would you now stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have the consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented, including approval of the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on April 12, 2021, approval of the proposed accounts for payment, approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for April 2021, approval of the Committee of the Whole minutes for April 22, 2021, approval of option students, approval of resignations of Kelly Meyer, High School Vocal Music, Alberto Aramillo, Physical Education at Lincoln and Stoddard, and approval of contracts for 2021-2022, Dr. James Watts, High School Science, Natalie Fromm, 2nd grade at Lincoln, Brendan Blackburn, Physical Education at Paddock Lane, Grant Shriek, High School Skilled and Technical Sciences, Aaron Formanek, Preschool, Morgan Schulz, High School FCS, and Zachary Decker, High School Math. And approval of Policy 3520, Transportation, and excuse the absence of Aaron Chadwick.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
And Jason, did you have some budgetary receipts, comments, or anything?
I do. The treasurer's report for April, it's always a key month in the budget cycle. It's always a month of anxiety because it's typically the leanest revenue month in the budget cycle. So we always kind of look forward to this month and how it shapes up, because it kind of tells us how the next 3 months of the budget cycle or 4 months of the budget cycle will end. This particular year has the leanest month, as I said, of the revenue side of the budget is typically April. And like everything else this year, it's an untypical April. We actually had a very strong revenue month in comparison to the last 6 years. So kind of an interesting year, as has been, it would just fit in with the rest of the year as it's been. So April payroll expenses were $1,794,995. Bills for the month were $341,656. which brings the total expenses for the month to $2,136,651.31. As I said, total revenue for the month is $2,165,294. And looking back in the past 6 years, we've never had the month of April bring in more revenue than we've had expenditures. So again, just a typical, a strangely untypical month for us. So it's been a strong revenue month. That's a good sign for finishing out the budget cycle as we come upon the rest of the year. So that's all I have.
Anybody have any comments or questions for Jason? Okay, hearing none, can I have your votes, please? All right, as approved with 6 votes. Next up, we have outstanding recognition. Dr. Nielsen, you start us off with Employee of the Month.
And I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Timmerman.
And I'm going to ask Miss Sarah Bartlett to come on up here with me. She's going to hate me. She didn't know this was happening. With that house full of people.
Hello, everyone.
Miss Sarah Bartlett is the May Employee of the Month. The joys of preschool make you smile each and every day, but Miss Sarah is one of those joys that make our students smile as well. When you walk into the preschool, she's one of the first people that students see. She always has a warm smile and even a hug for those in need. Miss Sarah's classroom is full of life. She is strong in her beliefs of children developing through hands-on learning and play. She works hard to use data to incorporate ways to reach all children. Miss Sarah's class is always active, and the adults are always working to incorporate the learning targets to play. There definitely is never a dull moment in her room. It's never a quiet moment. However, the students know their expectations are able to follow them. Miss Sarah is someone always willing to help, someone who's never afraid to do what is right for kids, someone who will stand up for students in her classroom in a positive manner while fighting for what she knows is right. Ms. Sarah is the PLC leader for the preschool building. She's done an amazing job of helping the preschool teachers show student data to determine the best way to meet the children and the needs of each individual child. She works to create an atmosphere where improvement is the expectation. Ms. Sarah is always willing to help new employees with duties, curriculum questions, setting up rooms. She's a master at setting up classrooms, and so much more. She spends a large amount of time prepping for each day to make sure that students arrive to a classroom that is ready for learning. She has always made time to discuss IEP procedures and student needs and instructional ideas to ensure practices are developmentally appropriate for each and every student. We would like to congratulate Ms. Sarah Bartlett and raise her flag. Congratulations.
Missy.
Yes. So I don't want to be up there. Yes, Gina.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, pictures.
We both love it.
All right, next up, we have Business Friend of the Month, Mr. Alexander.
All right, so at the start of this school year, we started having Business Friend of the Month recognized by our Board of Education for the contributions that they make to our school system. Over the course of the last 6, 7, 8 months, we've been recognizing businesses who have helped us in one fashion or another extend our opportunities to our students here at Beatrice Public Schools. That list is so long, we will continue month after month, unending probably from now until perpetuity, recognizing businesses who have been so fabulous in helping us sponsor the kids at our school. And so we appreciate all of them greatly, and we will continue each month to recognize one. This month, because May is Community Action Month, it is only fitting that we recognize a community organization that is a strong part of our school community. The Pioneer Foster Grandparent Program is such a strong part of our community and of our schools. The role models that each of these individuals plays with our students creates a lasting impact on our children. So at this time, Sonia Workman and her grandparents that she has with her.
Yep, Tanya and then Grandma, come on.
Please come on up.
Grandma Pam.
We'd like to recognize you, so if you'll turn and face the audience. Our foster, thank you. Our foster grandparents spend time reading with students, helping with math facts, talking to them about life experiences, and giving hugs when they can. They work with teachers and our schools to provide a mentor for students who need a little extra support during the day or the year. When we lost our foster grandparents because of the COVID numbers were on the rise, our schools noticed a loss. Our students noticed a loss. Their friendly faces in the hallways were missed, and we are truly thankful the numbers are decreasing and our foster grandparents are back in the classroom helping our students. Time with a foster grandparent is time well spent for an elementary child. They bring so much to the classroom and overall school environment. Their smiling faces, kind words, and their ability to see every child is a gift. It helps bring that special touch to a building. Foster grandparents are invaluable for their help with schoolwork or their patience with tying shoes that in many ways seem far apart at times. Helping with math may bring a comment, when I went to school, and all of a sudden the child sees a new connection to why it is important to learn math facts or how to solve those tough equations. When a foster grandparent relates a story from reading or history from social studies, it brings the information to life, helping the student to have a better understanding. The foster grandparents working with our special needs students bring such warmth and a gentle touch. The bond between the grandparent and child is precious and lasts a lifetime. Having that grandma in our building or grandpa in our building really lights up some students' eyes, especially those who do not have grandparents in their own lives. We are so blessed to have them be a part of our Orangeman family. We thank you for all that you do.
to echo the idea of patience. Pam worked with the after-school program and was amazing, and I hope she comes back sometime.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have student recognition. Mr. Randall, I believe, there he is. He will be taking care of that for us.
Mr. Zimmerman, I'm pleased tonight to call your attention and recognize a number of students who have been nominated for academic all-state honors. They're students who are active in a number of different school activities and who have maintained a very high grade point average. Before I get to those kids, I want to thank all the kids, all the students and parents who have been able to be here tonight. And I want to apologize for the late notice in communicating to you that that was going to take place tonight. I aim to do better, and I failed this time around, and I apologize sincerely. With that in mind, I want to hand out some awards here for some students. Students that are recipients of awards tonight are nominated for two different academic all-state, two different academic teams. One of them is the Nebraska School Activities Association Academic All-State. The students who qualify for that must be a varsity player or an organizational leader who has played a significant role on the team. They must maintain a GPA cumulatively of 3.7 or higher, and only 2 students from each activity can be nominated by the coach or the sponsor. The other one is the Lincoln Journal-Star Academic All-State. Those students must be a regular varsity starter or someone who contributes significantly off the bench. They must be a junior or a senior, and they must have a cumulative GPA of 3.6 or higher. So pretty high standards for these kids. The Academic All-State from the Nebraska School Activities Association was released just today. The Lincoln Journal-Star, I've got certificates for those kids. The Lincoln Journal-Star nominations are not even due until this coming Friday, so we don't know who has won, but we are going to at least recognize the kids that our coaches have nominated. So this first group of students, if you would please come up, I've got a certificate for you, and then we'll also list the other ones that don't have a certificate tonight. So I'd also mention that the certificates that I have today are for students who are in spring activities. The students that were in fall or winter activities, those have already been presented to those kids earlier in the school year. So, without any further ado, if you would please come up, Roel Navarrete. Roel has been named Academic All-State for music. Yeah, if you'll stay up here, we'll get a picture of the whole group. Next is Colton Dakey for music. Colton here. We'll catch him later. William Humphrey for baseball. Mr. Humphrey, come forward. Zane Hoffman for baseball. Zane was also a winner in football earlier this year. Drew Gleason for boys golf. Drew here. Okay. Next is Olivia Pfeiffer for girls tennis. Next is Avery Plessel, also for girls tennis. Mackenzie Hatcliffe for girls track and field. Back here. Mac was also a winner for volleyball and basketball. Morgan Mahoney for girls track and field. Okay. Morgan was also a winner earlier this year for softball and girls basketball. Hunter Weirick for boys track and field. Hunter, congratulations. Next is Cole Marshman for boys track and field. Is Cole here? Okay, Cole was also a winner for wrestling this year. Colt Dipbrenner for boys soccer. I could have come to you. Congratulations. And Colt was also a winner for tennis earlier in the fall. Next is Evan Oltmans for boys soccer. Is Evan here? Okay, Evan Oltmans. Addison Timmerman for girls soccer. Congratulations. And Reagan Henning for girls soccer. Okay, and Reagan was also a winner in softball and girls basketball. Okay, all of these winners are from the Nebraska School Activities Association, and as I said, coaches were only able to nominate 2 per activity, so it's pretty rarefied air. I'm going to read you the names of the other winners. Again, I don't have a certificate because we don't know the winners yet, but these are the kids that have been nominated by their coaches. I'll get out of the way here. Austin Burrows for baseball. Come on up, Austin. Evan Kuhn for cross country. Brianna Brewer for cross country. Jaden Kaderis for volleyball and girls track. Bennett Crandall, basketball, football, and soccer. Tag DeBoer for swimming and diving. Linnea Adil for swimming and diving. Hannah Essink for swimming and diving. Connor Freetag for boys tennis. Avery Gertig for volleyball. McKenna Hutt for girls golf. Elliot Juergens for football. Connor Kelly for boys tennis and boys soccer. Riley Krisky Pangborn for softball and track. Chelsea Lenners, volleyball, basketball, and track. Elijah Magnell for baseball. Max Meyer for boys tennis. McKenna Party for girls golf. Jace Pethod for basketball and football. Lauren Pieper for cross country and track. Sarah Price for soccer. Mackenzie Reason for swimming and diving. Carson Sadoff for tennis. Haley Schaaf for volleyball, basketball, and soccer. Devin Smith for basketball. Tucker Timmerman for boys basketball. Jordan Van Scoik for softball and swimming. And Quinn Zaborotsky for baseball. Hey, that does it. Great group of kids, excelled in the classroom as well as in activities, and we're really proud of them. Congratulations, students, for all your hard work. And help me join one more round of applause for the whole group. thank you all. You're free to sit down.
You are next.
Sorry, you're fine.
So can I go to dance?
Thank you.
You should cool down now, John. We'll get the masses out of here.
You mean with all the hot air that you're around?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
All right, next up, we have, Mr. Alexander wants to, talk a little bit about our Student Board of Education member. So, you are up.
Mr. Colt Hidbrenner, can you come to the front again, please? I didn't prepare a big, long speech about this young man because it doesn't take much to talk about a lot of good things when it comes to Colt. We, last year, we were fortunate enough, every year we're fortunate enough to have a student member be part of our board. And it's a learning experience for that person, and maybe more so this year than any other year in the past that I can recollect. But just a few things about Colt that I think are important to pass along. When Colt came on, he happened to come on in probably one of the most challenging years in education that I can remember in 29 years that I've been doing this. And he came on knowing what he was getting into, because I think he had a pretty candid conversation with Principal Suter, Mr. Suter, about what all this would entail. And I think that says a lot about his character, still wanting to be part of this process, given the type of year that it's been, and knowing what he was getting into. Ironically, Colt not only agreed to do that, but he's been a key factor in a lot of things that we've talked about, because oftentimes we've reached out to Colt and said, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that from a student perspective? And Colt has been willing to give us his honest opinion. He's been a sounding board for me as a superintendent, and he's been a student of high character and integrity in our district in a year that's not been an easy one. So tonight, thus being his last meeting, we wanted to just take a minute to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to commit and be here in a year where it's not easy to be here. And in 12 board meetings, you've probably experienced more than a lot more than some of us have experienced in a lot of years of being here. But you've done it willingly, you've done it gracefully. You yourself have been a target at times on this board. And for that, I apologize to you. Because I want you to know that as a young man of 18 years old, you didn't necessarily have to be targeted in some of the fashions that you were. But you handled it maturely and gracefully, and I think that says a lot about what your future entails. I personally feel a lot better about our world knowing you're going to be part of it and be a leader in it in the future because of what you've been able to experience and get through here. So again, congratulations. Thank you on behalf of all the Board of Education for being a student member and representative to our board this year. Thank you.
And this has been a year that we have had a lot of long meetings, and usually our board meetings are kept a little shorter, but because of everything that's been going on, they've been a lot longer, and Colt has sat there and sat through a lot of them very patiently, so I appreciate all the work you've done for that. All right. Next up, we have district requirements. Well, you two are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We got it.
So, one last set of honorees this evening that we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize. So those that are here for retirements, district retirements, would you please come forward? So we can announce you all at one time. Tell just a few stories about you before you walk out the last time. You just want to circle around. As you saw earlier, we have a wealth of students who have achieved at high levels in our classrooms and on our fields of competition, our courts, our swimming pools, our golf courses, and all the things that they've done. They've been able to do because of the help of these folks that are standing here, plus many others that are not quite as fortunate and at that retirement age. But we would be remiss if we didn't recognize these folks that are with us tonight. So what I would like to do is just call your name and have you raise your hand, and I'm just going to say a few things about you. And we're going to start with our classified staff retirees. I promise not to say too much. So Joni Brune, High School Activities Secretary, has been with the district 5 years. Dave Rosenbaum, who's not with us tonight, High School Library and Media Paraeducator, has been with the district for 7 years, and we have a note that he is likely to return, we hope someday. Norma Mercer, Sped Para, Paddock Lane, has been with us 13 years. Bonnie Bartlett, Middle School Resource Para, has been with us for 21 years. Vicki Hakey, Kindergarten Para, Paddock Lane, has been with us for 23 years. Sherry Collison, High School Secretary, been with the district for 28 years. And then Terry Bretthauer, who is not here this evening, but the Director of Buildings and Grounds, was with the district for 38 total years. When you take the total number of years that our classified staff members who are leaving us and retiring this year and add those all up, that's 135 years of institutional knowledge that walks out our door. And we're going to miss these folks because they've touched lives, they've been there to work with kids, they've been there to support the kids that need help, but also support the teachers that needed their help as well. Thank you. We're going to jump to our teachers next, and our certified staff retirees. Carla Shelley from Paddock Lane ACP has been here for 4 years. Amy Randall, middle school counselor, been with the district for 13 years. Kelly Meyer, high school vocal music, been with the district for 25 years. Pam McGee, Lincoln Elementary, 2nd grade, been with the district 28 years. Michael Politsky, middle school social studies, been with the district for 30 years. Jill Weens, Stoddard, 3rd grade, been with the district for 31 years. Marion Wallen, Stoddard, 4th grade, been with the district for 32 years. Beth Jurgens, Stoddard, 3rd grade, been with the district for 33 years. And Renee Jones, Paddock Lane, been with the district in resource for 43 years. Quite a commitment. When you add up those years, folks, that's 265 years of institutional knowledge that will walk out the doors here in a very short few days. It's hard to see you go because we know the difference that you've made in kids' lives. And I don't care who you are, if you care about kids,
You care about the difference makers that you've been in those lives. You've been to countless hours of ball games, you've been to countless hours of activities, you've been to countless hours of homework assignments, answering questions, telephone calls, emails, and now that's all going to be gone. But your memory will live with us forever. And we appreciate, on behalf of the entire Beatrice Board of Education and community, the work that you've done with our students over your tenure here. Thank you. Finally, we have two administrators that are leaving us. Neil Randall, High School Assistant Principal, Activities Director, has been with the district 14 years. And Mr. John Jarash, Middle School Principal, has been with the district for 22 years. That's 36 years of institutional knowledge that leaves our district in the administrative roles at the end of the school year. These gentlemen have committed time, not just to kids in classrooms or teachers that needed help and support, but they've been to activities, they've picked up after activities, they've set up before activities, and they've spent numerous hours responding to parents' concerns, trying to work through situations with students that weren't always easy, and they've done it gracefully and to the best of their ability, and we respect them and appreciate their service as well. Let's give them a round of applause. On Wednesday, we will recognize all of these folks with our entire staff. We have really tried to embrace the mantra of one school, one family in the past 3 years. And we want these folks, as they leave, to have one last opportunity with their family members, who we call cousins, at our PLC on Wednesday to recognize them and show our appreciation. When you think about it, 436 years of knowledge walks out of our doors when you total all these years up. That's a lot. It's tough to replace. And we're excited about that challenge, but at the same time, we're afraid, because we know when you were here, things were in good hands. So we wish you well in your next chapter. We want you to know how much we appreciate what you've done. And we hope that in the next years, you won't forget and you'll come back and visit us. We want you all to come back. So congratulations, best wishes, and happy retirement to all of you.
All right, next up, we have our information portion of the meeting. First up, student update. Colt Brenner.
I don't have a lot to update on, but as many of you know, we had the graduation yesterday, which was in Hebelon. I thought it went well. The track team has districts on Thursday. The soccer team ended their season last Saturday with a good season, I think. I don't know. That's about all. Don't got much else.
You're not going to tear up like Jason does every time he... Well, thank you very much once again for all you've done for us. Yeah. And it was a very good speech you gave on Sunday. All right, then on to board reports. Committee of the Whole. Mrs. Martin.
The Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting was held on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. One of the first things up was Johnson Controls provided an update to board members. They noted that they are planning to utilize ESSER funds for projects at the high school to improve air quality. Next, Terry Breathauer talked about summer projects, including at the high school, parking lot replacement, concrete work at the entrance to the building, replacement of the south doors, some storage sheds, siding and shingle repairs, drain tile on the west side, fire alarm system replacement, and concrete repairs at the House of Orange. At the middle school, they're going to repair a leaking window and work with a fire alarm issue. At Paddock Lane, they'll get some new timbers and gravel, and a shed needs to be repainted. I thought most interestingly, though, was when Terry, at the end of his report, he talked about, since it was his last committee of the whole meeting, about the overall condition of the district facilities. And he noted that with 5 buildings that are all about the same age, it is going to be imperative to make some big decisions on facilities in the near future, as each year it gets harder to maintain the buildings, and some of the upcoming repairs would be very costly. He gave some examples of concerns, including the electrical panels, inefficiencies as deemed by the fire marshal, including ceiling tiles that are not fire rated, and the HVAC systems. Mr. Alexander also shared that the food instructor had just visited Lincoln Elementary, and the district has received corrective action forms for some repairs that are needed in nutrition services. Mr. Alexander then talked about the use of ESSER funds, particularly that he said that they'd met with the administration to get some feedback on individual needs. Dr. Nielsen shared that approximately $1.3 million would be allocated for professional development, vision, hearing system, technology, mental health services, curriculum updates in social studies, and school facilities repairs and air quality updates. They also talked about classroom upgrades will consist of new laser LED projectors, a sound bar or speaker mic system, laptops to get them in a rotation of less than 5 years, a USB 3 docking station, and some optional upgrades. He also talked about district updates for including new widescreen adjustable monitors, desktop computers, moving from 2 domains to 1 domain for computer logins, re-imaging all desktops and laptops, and some other things at House of Orange, and some new Chromebooks at the high school. Mr. Alexander shared that the negotiations committee has been looking at comparisons between the remaining salary categories, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that because we'll talk about that later in the meeting tonight. So that ends my report.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the report? All right, next up we have the stance report. Is there anything?
There's a lot of legislation that we met last Thursday. We meet on a weekly basis now, and we met last Thursday in response to a lot of the proposed legislation right now. I have some more information in my superintendent update, but specific bills that we've been that are of special note that the stance organization has been paying attention to. LB 147 is one of those bills by Senator Coltman. The governor has opposed this bill and believes it's a shell attempt to take on the OPS retirement system. So we'll see where that goes at this point. LB 132 is another bill we've been paying attention to, and then LB 528, which has several amendments attached to it that we'll see where that goes in the near future as well. But again, I have more information on the legislation that we've been meeting on in my superintendent update, so I'll save it till then.
Okay. Anybody have any comments on the stance report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public forum section. It is now that portion of the agenda set aside for public comment on any item that is on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Each person shall be allowed to address the board one time. Per policy 8340, each person will be allowed up to 5 minutes to speak. Please remember that this is a public school meeting where public business is conducted. This is not an open dialogue with board meetings. Such a dialogue could violate the Open Meetings Act. In addition, offensive language, personal attacks, and hostile conduct will not be tolerated. Any person who engages in a disorderly manner will be requested to leave until the meeting is adjourned. As a reminder to members of the Board of Education, the time reserved for public comment is a point in the meeting where the board receives public comment. Public comment is not a time for the board to engage in an open discussion or debate. To prevent a potential violation of the Open Meetings Act, board members should not respond to any person making public comments. A discussion during a board meeting about an item not listed on the agenda may constitute a violation of the Open Meetings Act, subjecting the board to potential penalties. Therefore, to the extent that there is a topic discussed during public comment that a board member wishes to discuss during a board meeting, the board member should request that the board president add such topic to a future board agenda. Finally, members of the public should not feel disrespected or unheard when members of the board do not respond to public comments. Having said all that, was there anyone who wished to speak tonight? All right, we're going to move on to our action portion. First up, approval of pay-to-ride transportation fees. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the paid-to-ride transportation fee of $130 for the 2021-22 school year.
I have a motion by Doris. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jana. Dr. Nielsen, was there anything you wish to? Oh, you're there. Okay.
I just snuck up here. There's nothing that we are changing from this year, so the fee will still remain the same as it has for last year, for previous years. And when we looked around in surrounding areas that offered similar transportation that we do, we are actually quite low. So we thought we would continue with the $130 for the 10 months and leave it as that for this year. So there are no major changes. Excuse me. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. When did we start this paid-to-ride transportation?
It's been years.
All right.
It's been before my time.
Why did we start this?
Because we offered transportation. I would assume, I'm not for sure, I didn't make the decision,
Right.
so I don't know, I can only guesstimate.
Right, like I mentioned in prior meetings, my constituents have brought to me, why isn't transportation free?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's within a certain block radius, right? And then if you're going to the high school, then you have to pay to ride, is that correct?
It's mostly our middle school and high school students where they would qualify for receiving that fee to ride.
Okay.
If the families are able to if they have documentation of need, we waive the fee. So if families come to us and show us documentation, we waive that $130.
Right.
Families just need to come to the board office. One of the things that we offer as a district is we offer transportation to our in-town students. And I think that's one of the reasons why they charge is because we wouldn't have to offer that. State statute says that that the only people we need to offer it to are students that live outside of Beatrice, outside of the city, that are outside 4 miles, and then the students that have an IEP and their IEP team has determined that they need transportation. So I think the fee comes because these are students that don't qualify for transportation under state statute.
Okay.
I think that it's also, it's kind of a luxury, so to speak. When you really look at a school budget, I think you have to prioritize things, and I think just being able to ride the bus because you want to. And I remember when they first started charging, because when the high school was across the street, I could bring my elementary children to school with me and put them on a bus. Well, that was a luxury, so when they asked me to pay, then that seemed realistic. I don't know if the district should have to pay for those purposes, but I don't know the other reasons for it, but I do think, like she said, it's something that we've chosen to offer, that we don't have to. So I'd like to at least keep that going for people that absolutely need it. But I think we've seen this year that many people, when asked, stepped up and provided transportation for their children.
It just seems to me that it's a very small amount of money, because I think you mentioned before it's somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 that we collect off this, when we have a budget around $700,000.
Not a budget.
Or we're budgeting
That's an
for
expense.
that. Or expense, okay.
So I appreciate your comments. I think they're, and the questions your constituents ask, but I think the difference to understand is the difference between a service that's required, which we are required to pay for, or to provide transportation for 4 miles and over in sped students, but the rest of it's a service that we provide. And that service is pretty, it's a pretty high cost. And so the $5,000 to $7,000 that we collect doesn't nearly cover what that service costs. Right. And I mean, it's a parental responsibility to get their child to school. We've always, when that decision was made, I think it was made in order to help working parents and schedules and all of those things. But it's, as we've noted numerous times, it's come to a position where, because of the impact on the budget, we're needing to look at all other alternatives.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for Jan? All right, if that's the case, can I have your votes, please? And that is approved with 6 votes. Next up, the approval of the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
I move the Board of Education of District 15 approve the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement with ESU 5 for a technology coordinator for the 2021-22 school year.
All right, I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. All right, Mr. Alexander.
Just a quick update for the purposes of history and everybody understand why this came about. The district, with the infusion of technology, it's interesting. One of the questions that I ask our retirees when I meet with them for an exit interview is, what is one of the biggest changes you've seen in education in your 28 or 30 or 40 years that you've been in education? And oftentimes, the response to that is technology, the impact that technology has had on everything. And so, as we talk about this particular action item, it's important to understand that when technology became such a huge part of education, a district technology coordinator was needed at some point, so the district made the decision to pursue that. Last year, with the retirement of that technology director, we contracted with Educational Service Unit number 5 to provide that same service for a little bit of a lesser expense to the district, and it's worked out very well. We actually have been able to work that through with almost 3 members, or 3 technology coordinators now, because we have access to 3 individuals through ESU 5, where in the past we only have had access to 1. So that's kind of a little bit of history as to where that evolved from and where that contract comes from, and it's worked out very well. So it'd be my recommendation that we continue that contract to provide the technology needs of the district through that technology coordinator contract.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I have your votes, please? Thank you. All right, that is approved with 6 votes. And next up, the approval of Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement with ESU 5 for 2021-22.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jana. All right, Mr. Alexander.
Again, just a quick historical perspective. We know that sometimes we have students that, because of certain situations in their life, the traditional school day does not work well for them. So we do have an alternative education program that is also coordinated with ESU 5. That's where it's located, out at ESU 5. They basically provide us a room and a location and technology services out there, and we provide a staff member to work with students who, for whatever reason, the traditional day or the traditional education program hasn't worked. They can enroll in that alternative program, and we provide the services for them to be able to pursue their education and eventually graduate from high school So it's a terrific program. It works well for a lot of students who, again, for whatever reason the traditional program doesn't work, offers them an opportunity to continue their high school education.
All right, any comments or questions? Okay, can I have your votes, please? And that is approved with 6 votes. And approval of classified staff wages. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve a 19-cent increase on the base in classified staff wages for the 2021-22 school year.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. All right, Mr. Alexander, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Covered most of this information in the committee of the whole meeting, but just as a reminder, the negotiations committee spent numerous hours talking about this and what the right thing to do is, and that results in a 3.2% increase to wages. The 19 cents keeps us competitive with the other markets in our community and the surrounding area. One of the things that, if federal legislation is approved to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour, this will put us closer to that, but we'll still have work to do in order to meet that if that happens. So the recommendation of 19 cents is a fair, competitive increase for classified staff.
Okay, any comments, questions? All right, votes please. And that is approved, 6 votes. Approval of other contracted wages. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve a 3% salary increase in other contracted staff wages for the 2021-22 school year.
I have a motion by Doris. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Janet. All right, Mr. Alexander, anything?
A lot of the same information. Again, this was all discussed at the committee of the whole meeting, but these are contracted individuals who are in supervisory or quasi-supervisory roles. And like we do with certified staff or teachers, we look at a comparison as to what these individuals make in their area of expertise and try and measure that up as to where they are and what the average will be for the coming year and remain competitive. So average over the past 5 years on the salary only portion of this is 2.6%. We feel the need to, in order to remain competitive and in comparison with the other areas, to increase this to 3% increase for other contracted individuals for the coming year.
All right, any comments or questions on that? Can I have votes, please? And that is approved with 6 votes. And now, approval of administrator salaries. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve a 2.75% salary increase in administrator salaries for the 2021-22 school year.
Motion by Doris. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. All right. Last one, Mr. Alexander.
Okay, again, I apologize for sounding like a broken record, but this again is the result of the negotiations committee looking at the overall comparisons of the administrators here at Beatrice with other administrators in the state and making a decision about where they are, and on the basis of that comparison, looking into it, the average over the past 5 years on the salary has only been about 2.48%, which results in a lower ranking in terms of where the district is on administrative pay. So the recommendation of 2.75% brings that administrative package up to a more comparable average in the array and makes it makes a fair analysis and comparison with the other area schools.
Okay. Comments?
Yeah, a question, since I wasn't part of the board, when you voted for the teacher's salary increase, is that done at fall time or?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's on the basis of laws that are in place through the Court of Industrial Relations, which we'll often refer to as the CIR. So the CIR has a time frame that's set up, and negotiations must begin prior to November 1st and must end in mid-February. and if they don't, then you're assigned an arbitrator, which in turn will look at the package offers back and forth and determine whether or not that would go to the Court of Industrial Relations.
Do you have how much of a percentage the teachers got in their last raise?
Certified staff received a 2.4% increase this year in comparison to other schools. That put them right at the midpoint of the array. And so they will remain exactly in the middle of the midpoint of the array. And that's how it works, is you pick 14 other schools that are half your size, and according to the Court of Industrial Relations, it has to be half your size, half as small, half as large, or half as big of your size of school, and then you pick 14 schools to use an array comparison and do all the comparisons of the salary, the benefit package, and all that's included.
I would just feel more comfortable with since I know I wasn't part of that, I can't do anything about that now, but the teacher's salary be on par as the administrators, or even more, in my opinion. I think it should be more. So, that's all I have for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, and I want to mention that one of the reasons we looked at that is in the last number of years, the administrators have been less than what the teachers have received. So this equalizes it a little bit more. We also have our administrators, the majority of administrators, I think all except two, under the midpoint by quite a ways. They're kind of down at the bottom, and again, in order to remain competitive and have people want to come to our district, we have to be competitive with other districts.
We use an array for all the groups that we look at, and so we don't take them all and just lump them together. We take each group separately and discuss and spend hours, and the next president will be setting up the next group of those who will be on that committee, and I would love to see you put your hat in for that. You learn a lot just by being on that, and you cover throughout the whole year. It's not just one of the one time and you're done type of things. With the teachers, it can go on for a couple of months. In past, I've seen it go on for a year. So luckily, we have not had that in many, many years. So, and then also the committee gets together and goes over administrators and classified and certified. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely look into it, because it can open up your eyes as to getting a deep dive into the budget. And some of us have been on there for a long time, and they're getting tired of seeing me, or whoever that would be. So
I would say on behalf of the negotiations committee too, it's a very large time commitment. It's extensive amounts of meetings, lots of discussion, lots of analyzation. And so I understand where your question comes from and not having that history. It's a valid question. I would encourage you anytime, come in or set up a meeting, and I'll be glad to go through it all with you too. But it's a lot to learn, so.
I think the other thing about it is that with teachers, we talk about other things other than just salary. I mean, there's personal leave, professional leave, there's a lot of other factors that go into that decision. So, but yeah, and I would typically feel that same way. Obviously, I like to see teachers make top dollar, but I also know that we have to maintain a budget, and they're currently right in the middle, but some administrative positions are not. So I want to have good administrators as well.
all right, did anybody else have any comments, questions?
And I just want to make a quick comment, nothing against the administrators, I think they're doing a great job, but I think where I'm at right now with the school board and not knowing the full scale of what goes in a year with negotiations with the teachers, I believe, you know, administrators do need a certain raise, they do, cost of living, but I just feel right now that I'm gonna abstain from this vote tonight. I'm not gonna vote yes or no, because a lot of teachers, a lot of people in the public come to me and ask, you know, why are they getting such a big raise? Why are they getting paid so much when we have paras and teachers making what they make, you know? And it's a common thing. And that's one of the things I ran on. That's one thing I said I try to do, fiscal responsibility. I'm not gonna vote yes, I'm not gonna vote no. I'm gonna abstain tonight, and I just don't want the administrators to think I'm trying to, you know, not say they're not doing a great job, but that's just how I feel tonight, and I thought I should explain my vote before I vote.
Well, and I appreciate you letting us know that too, and letting them know why you're doing what you're doing. And it is a big decision to be made. And not having been involved in any of that before, you really are, you know, without a paddle trying to go upstream. So I totally understand your feelings for that. Anybody else? Okay.
Appreciate the explanation, Eric. I think that's important for everyone to understand, and I think that's a good move on your part, and without that institutional knowledge, that's okay.
All right, hearing nothing else, can I have your votes, please? All right, that is approved with 5 yay votes and 1 abstention. All right, now we'll move on to the administrator's report. Mr. Alexander, you're going to lead us off with the superintendent report.
I will. First of all, I want to say that on behalf of the Board of Education, or to the Board of Education, first of all, thank you for attending yesterday's graduation ceremony. I think it was an awesome celebration in honor of our graduates that have themselves been through what I would characterize as a very unusual year. But they did it resiliently, they did it in nice fashion, and so a huge thank you to Mr. Suter for all the preparation work that went into making yesterday a terrific day of honoring our graduates. For those of you that have graduates, I hope you would agree with that, but Mr. Suter always does a class act, and our high school administration, Mr. Voigt, Mr. Randall along in that, work very hard to make sure that when our students leave, they feel appreciated and honored and always know that they can come back. So thank you to the high school administrative team for a terrific graduation. Also, the middle school conference track meet was last Thursday. Congratulations to Mr. Junker and the middle school athletic staff and all the teachers who helped for hosting the first annual middle school Trailblazer conference track meet last Friday. It was a huge success that we have received numerous positive accolades for. So congratulations to Mr. Drosh, Mr. Junker, the entire middle school staff. And I will tell you folks that are here and anybody that's listening that when we talk about an economic impact on our community, when you think about the number of people that come to track meets and ball games and all the things that they come to, and they stop and get gas and they eat at our fast food restaurants and they attend those things, it's a tremendous benefit for us to be able to host those things. So, and it takes a lot of work on behalf of our staff to do that. So we greatly appreciate that. Moving quickly, the annual report that came out, hopefully you've all had a chance to receive that. There were 7,889 annual reports mailed out last week. We have a bunch more that are scheduled to arrive here at the office. They just haven't done that yet, so that's why I don't have another copy, but hopefully you got one in the mail. You can peruse that. It's full of good information. The legislation update that I promised in the stance meeting, there are 8 bills that have been passed in the legislature that in some way, shape, or form will create change in the world of education as we know it. So there are 5 bills on final reading, there are 13 bills on select file, 14 on general file that could all, at some point in the next several weeks as the legislature finishes out, have some sort of impact on education. So we'll be paying attention to those as they wrap up. And then in June, we'll receive a school law update that will make us aware of everything that needs to be changed in accordance to meet state statute. So that's a total of
40 possible changes to public education that could happen between now and the end of the session and would have to be implemented in the next 1 to 2 years. Finally, the May Committee of the Whole meeting date. Typically, we meet on the last Thursday of the month, but we are having some special guests attend the May meeting, and so I'm asking if it would be okay to move that meeting to the 26th in order to accommodate those special guests' schedule, and if that all works for everybody, we'll schedule it for Wednesday, May 26th, and hopefully that will help. The title of that meeting will be, as you heard in Doris's report from Terry, addressing the current and future needs of Beatrice Public Schools facilities. So that's what that discussion will be about. And we are going to take a picture, so if we can all dress up for that, that would be nice as well. That's all I have. Unless there's questions.
Okay, I hear no questions. So, the next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be June 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be May 26th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes. I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Janet. Can I have your votes, please? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Jason, you want to, introduce?
Oh, yes. Boy, I didn't see you sitting there. Sorry. There are a lot. The new Terry is Roy
Terry.
Lawrence from Ford, so welcome aboard.